Right, I'm just going to set up my chair, and today I'm going to introduce to you a new buy that I made from Germany on the internet. Let's just put that back there so I can show you the page, just in case I want to show it to you. I decided to go onto eBay. Most people will know who eBay is, and buy a Morse key for my Yaesu FT450D, and I couldn't afford to spend a lot of money, so what I did is I bought the MFJ 564, which is a paddle key. It's an American design, but it's made in Taiwan. Came in a sort of yellow box. I think it was about 62 pounds or 68 pounds, something like that, and came in and said it was a Morse key. I would say it was a Morse key kit. Every screw was loose, and there was no way they were going to stay where they were, because there was no form of any lock nuts, and what it was is that on this piece here there's some cone bearings. There's screws with 2 points on, and they were loose. It didn't matter what you did with them, they were just shaking in their threads, and there was no way of locking them. Made by MFJ, but there's no excuse for that. There should have been some kind of Allen screw inside to lock that, so it wasn't washing around like a wet dildo. Also, these posts were loose, so they kept spinning. Every time you tried to tighten this, the things were going like that, like a didac. Also, it was difficult to get this gap to line up, that the mating surfaces were going like that and not like that on one edge. I haven't quite got this one right. I've more or less got it right, but so the only way really to stop the screws coming undone was to use bloody super glue, which it's not something that I was pleased about. The pointed cone screws don't ever need to be moved, so why the hell they couldn't just glue them in the first place, I don't know, because they're not going to move anyway. The other thing was these gap screws. You had to do up these Phillips head screws to grip them, and it's very difficult to get the screwdriver to go around tight enough without slipping. It really needed to be like an Allen screw or an ordinary slot screw, so it was easier to turn. The other thing was there's a screw at the bottom of each corner, which you adjust for the spacing, part of the spacing, and they were so loose that you know, I had to glue those in as well, which is just not on. Apart from that, I built this key because it certainly wasn't usable when I had it. The only thing I don't like is it's got a screw on the bottom which stops it coming up too much, but if you do that or you knock it any time, it basically washers like that, because it's not, even though I'm not going to do that, I'm pretty careful, and I think that's pretty enough design that that you can basically do that and knock those off, those trunnions, which I don't think is particularly good. However, the key was cheap. To be honest with you, I paid 62. I reckon it's worth about £50. I don't think it's worth what I paid for it, because I had to bloody build the damn thing anyway. It was also very difficult putting the wires on underneath, because every time I tried to do these up, the post kept doing a didac, so it made it very difficult for me to get these spades not biting into the rubber or coming off the edge there, because the damn posts would keep moving and they're not keyed in any way on the base. So what happens is when you do up the screws, the posts keep moving, and it was absolutely annoying. The other thing is that, as you notice, there's 3 pads, and because these are quite far in, it's very easy to touch it and turn it over. These needed to be further to here, but they couldn't obviously do that. So it means that the area isn't enough between those two in that one. So what happens, it can rock. It really needed one here and one there. So it was actually, also it didn't come with a wire. I had to supply my own wire. Considering I had to build the bloody key in the first place. It would have been nice if I got the wire as well. What I mean is you touch it, and as you can see it totters, and it really needs another one on each side. I'll try and see if I can get 4 new rubbers and put 4 on there. So, but anyway, once I got those headaches sorted, I treated it as a kit rather than a key, and it was still half price of any other paddle key out there. They wanted 120 for most of them. So in a way, I'm quite happy with it in some ways. At least I've managed to get it working, and I'll just demonstrate that it does actually work, so that you know that I'm not a bullshitter, and I can send more sort of. Yeah. There you are, AC 450D, and so it does actually work. The wig I'm using is the 450D. I bought when my dad died. Now, most people would say that's not a 450D. It's got the wrong knobs. They're orange because I put them on there. I didn't like the white knobs, so I put those on. So it's a 450D custom. I've also gone and bought an ATU because I don't like the internal ones that much. And I bought a desk mic. I didn't buy the Yaesu one, they were too expensive. 120 quid for a desk mic. I got one, I think it was MFJ what type, but it was called something else, a Donus or something. And I paid £60, £62 for it. So it was half the cost of the Yaesu one. And so I don't know, it's a electret mic, so it's going to have much better audio response than the dynamic one, which is this one. And even that Yaesu mic has a dynamic element, a plastic element. They sound very muted, and I haven't got much tonal range in my voice. I'm an Aspie, so people like me tend to have a sort of monotone voice. I've either got a much higher voice, which I can speak in, or a much lower voice, but I haven't got any sort of different types of voice range. And if you're talking on the amateur radio, it can sound like a drone, and so you need something that's got a bit of a higher pitch. So that's the MFJ 564 running off the 450D. As I say, it's not the best key. Don't pay more than about £70 for it. You can get them from Germany for about £65, and they come for that, and it's worth paying that. And treat it as a kit that you're going to have to basically muck around with it, but once you've done it does work okay. Don't expect perfection. I don't like the idea of 2 slopes going like that to make contact. It's very difficult to get the 2 surfaces of the contacts to mate together flat. You usually get that, or it's at an angle. It's not great. Really, those bits needed to be straight, and that needed to be pointing that way, so it was doing this not as a slope, but it's just a poor design really. It's made to look very similar to a bencher. They've copied the bencher idea, but they haven't done the best job of it. The key is made in Taiwan, made in China, which doesn't help. I'm sure if it was made in America by MFJ, they would have sorted the problems out. But considering they're made in China for a price, they've probably got quite a markup on those. And or let's just say, no, perhaps not. Perhaps they're not making as much.